Welcome back to Universe X. Today, we are actually going to dive into another episode of UniXRogue series, where pretty much we just kind of look at stuff that's not necessarily established, or maybe is falling out of favor, or maybe is creeping into favor. But usually, all of these decks have been already in the format. Today, we're going to talk about a deck that actually isn't out yet, but will be, and the flavor is definitely Battle Evolution Booster. A lot of people have been talking about the yellow-green androids that have been coming out in the set. I made a video myself talking about them, make androids great again. Just a lot of powerful cards snuck into a leader slash archetype that has traditionally been hit or miss, kind of, as cards have been printed out. So before we jump directly into it, as per usual, just want to say, love the support. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting, liking, subscribing. I am doing a subscriber giveaway for metal leader cards courtesy of Spiral Maui Graphix, and the link to that video and how to join will be right in the description. All you gotta do is make sure you're subbed, go like Spiral Maui Graphix on Facebook, and that link will be there as well, and then just comment on the video and you will be in. There's just over a week left before the drawing, so get in there, see what you can do. After that, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, please think about doing so, because it is, again, just the largest form of information we have for the game. Lots of stuff goes down there, lots of news, lots of information, questions, and it's just a community that you're going to want to be in if you're into this game. So, I want to make sure there's enough time to go into every aspect of this deck, so I'm going to jump over to the screen cap and then introduce our special guest so we can get the ball rolling on his deck. Alright. So, you are looking at it, and you're going to notice a couple things that are very interesting off the rip. For me, it's mostly leader as well as the SCR choice, but we are actually going to dive into the entire thing. The first part I want to get out of the way, actually, is just introducing the pilot of this deck, the creator of this deck, and having him talk about a couple things. So, if you can introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name's Dylan McIsaac. I am from the east coast of Canada, a top cut national player representing the Next Level team from Summerside. And yeah, I've just been brewing this deck for about the past month or so since these cards have been released, and it's just been absolutely wonderful in playtesting, and I can't wait to get into it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, I guess looking at the list, definitely gonna have you go over it. But actually, you know what? I think I'll just start asking the questions after you go over your list. I think you should just dive right into that, go over your list, and then we can start this kind of interview process.
Okay, first things first, a lot of people will notice that instead of using the new 13 liter, we're using the old Android 13 liter, and the reasoning behind that is I think it's a trap, the new one. So we'll get into that whenever we go over it, but we're running the new 13. Obviously we're running the obvious package of 4 Demigra, we're running 3 Dormant, and 4 Frieza. Super combo is going to be the 4 Vegeta the Lone Prince. Awesome, just 1 drop, and also a super combo. You just it's basically a cheaper version of Ribrianne to a lesser extent that accrues value over the game. The next card would be the new Android 1 drop from the Evolution Booster 14. The mission begins. Sometimes you'll have a hard time finding the Stoic Fist in your opening hand. So what he's going to allow you to do is look at the top 5, and typically it's not too much of an issue with the amount of draw that this deck can actually do, especially with the next card up on the list, but that will just help you with the consistency, and it also helps with your targets for Successor and for your other 13. So we have obviously the Android Troop 14-15, the Trailer Park Boys. You place them from your hand into the drop area and draw 1. Just a great utility card. It's basically a draw 1 Pot of Greed. Just works with your Android 13 leader and allows you to utilize that Awaken early condition as well.
Nice little cantrip going on right there. Actually, cycle card. You play 4 of these, you are running a 46 card deck, provided you see all of them. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. It just helps with consistency with the cards that you are going to see it filtering through your deck, especially in a color that sometimes has issues with card draw. It's I just find it can be really helpful at times whenever you need it.
Nice, nice.
So the next one here is one that I was just my jaw dropped whenever I seen this get released. So it's just an amazing card. The Android 14-15 target acquired. It's a free green-yellow combo, which I just think that's great for this deck for the arrival target in general, because that just is going to help you make sure that you're going to hit that arrival whenever you need it. In addition to that, though, the auto on play is just amazing. This deflect card just comes down and it just says if your opponent has 2 or more energy, so you can drop it on their turn 2. And you get to look at the top 10 for an Android 13 and play it with a cost of 4 or less, and play it with its skills negated, then shuffle your deck. So you can hit a couple targets with that. We run Dawn of Terror and the new Arrival target, but we'll go over those. But it's just an amazing card, an amazing attacker, amazing combo piece. I just think they did an overall good job on providing that as support.
Awesome. Let's see. And then we've got the next one.
Yeah, Tutoa used to run it at 3, dropped it down to 2. She's really good whenever you see her. Helps trigger the leader effect on the flip side. It's just awesome. Your opponent drops 1, it can trigger the next card on the list. But I figure I didn't want to clunk up the deck with too much black cards, because sometimes it can just be dead in your hand, and then the last thing you want to do is just end up throwing them into your energy. So 2 I felt is a good number. But she allows us to play the next card if your opponent drops 1. A lot of cards allow it, though. Son Goku, the Power of Legend. This card is... I wanted to run it at 4, but I cut it down to 3. I think it's just such a great card. It's board removal. It's a critical 15k body that gets played for free. I kept it at 3, so we're running 5 black cards in total in the deck. And I think like you see it whenever you need it, and... you don't see it too often, so it's not like it's clogging up your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this boy. This is a little bit of a throwback. I think this is an advantage of using the old 13 leader too. For successor, is for 15 the Vicious Vendetta, so you can combo it if your leader's green, and after the battle it's going to get played in rest mode, and you can choose 1 or 2 cards in your life and add them to your hand and switch a green energy to active mode. So you're basically playing him for free in essence and taking cards from real life. So that's useful in scenarios where maybe you didn't hit the Stoic Fist on turn 1, but you have him in your opening hand. You can get down to 6 and then combo maybe 0, 5k, 14, or maybe you have a troop in your hand. You can still hit that awakened condition.
Excellent.
And now this is the we're getting into the targets for the mission acquired. This is Dawn of Terror 13. There was a couple of things that you can go over. There's Android 13 the Brilliant, and there's also Android the successor one that you can combo for 2. Basically, I felt like he was the best choice. None of them have protection whatsoever, and he is a 20k, unlike Brilliant, Android 13 the Brilliant. And in addition to that, instead of playing a 13 with a 7 cost from your hand like the other ones do, he allows you to search your deck for it, and I find that's a lot better of a utility, especially if you don't see some of the pieces. Like you could have the core of the trio 7-drop in your hand, you might need the Adamantite Avenger. So I just find that being able to search for that is just so much better in the long run, especially whenever games go longer.
Dig it.
And the big boy, the big bad boy that we were all excited about. Just an amazing card. I don't really need to explain much here. It's an amazing arrival. 20k, double strike, unique. And at the beginning of your opponent's turn, they choose 2 of their battle cards and KO them. So if they don't deal with this on your turn or whenever you play it, assuming that their cards don't have barrier, they're going to have to blow up 2 of their battle cards, and that's just helping you gain board advantage. And like if you don't have a Son Goku Power of Legend in play, sometimes with some of the cards that can hit the drop, it can trigger other effects to make your opponent discard to play him. There's just a lot of combos that you can get off in the deck. In addition to that, you obviously want to run it at 4 because of his activate skill, which is whenever you have him in your drop, you can send him to the warp and choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less and KO it. You have to pay 1 for it, but just having that board control, especially whenever you see a lot of aggro in the format now, I think it's really, really good. It checks launch with the Piccolos, it checks Turtles, so you're not really too worried whenever it comes to those games. You can pretty much meter them out. So I think it's just a wonderful card. 20k double striker in addition to that. Everything that you would want on a card, you get with this card.
Excellent.
And next we got the Stoic Fist. For those who play 13, you'll just know this is just the star MVP of the deck. But for those who don't, he is a card that you'll never play, and hopefully you'll never charge. If your leader card is an Android 13 and you choose this card and the other Android 15 in your hand and place them in your drop area, you choose 2 cards in your life, add them to your hand, up to, and then you can draw cards. So you can accrue 3 on this, and then your opponent discards 1. So after that, you can get that 3 off of that, hit your awakened condition, draw 2 more. And if your opponent had discarded a card from that and you managed to hit a Power of Legend off the Stoic Fist and you get to play that, you get so many turn 1 plays that just apply pressure to your opponent. In playtesting, I've had a lot of people just say that it almost felt like whenever I hit it, just felt like they couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Next, don't really need to go over it. It's part of the Unison package. Frieza, charismatic villain. You know what it is. You know what it does. Pops a 7-drop or less. Just an amazing card. If you don't have it, there's some other things that you could swap it out for. Because I know some people don't. But if you do have it, definitely 4 of in the deck.
Sweet. And then the next, another good card from Battle Evolution Booster.
Oh, this card. A lot of people are tempted into playing the new leader because of this card and the ability to, the utility with the backside of the new 13. But I find that it doesn't really matter because it only procs once per turn. This guy's KOing 3 battle cards, so you're getting a lot more utility with this old leader with the other utility cards that we can throw in. And just having that body out there that's just okay, so I'm a deflect triple attack, and I'm just going to go in and you're going to have to KO 3 battle cards. It's even if your opponent survives the attack, survives the turn, having a -3 on your board is just it's hard to recover from in some cases, especially if you're a hard glass cannon aggro deck like some are in the format right now. Losing all those cards in your board is just a downhill battle.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the successor on them both is cost 2, and it's just great with the Vendetta, and you can get the mission acquired to hit the Dawn of Terror. So worst case, if you can't activate it, you can always successor. And this guy, I'm running the 7 drops at 5, so I'm doing a 3-2 split. I used to have it the other way for the Avenger at 3 and the Core at 2, but I found it was better the other way around. I found I was using the KO a lot more than the discard. But this guy is still great. If your leader card's Android 13, and you choose 3 Android cards in your drop and place them at the bottom of your deck in any order, so you can basically shuffle back in your cantrips, you can shuffle back in your Vendettas, your Stoic Fist, your Mission Acquireds. It's just insane. It's really good in that case. And then you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. And what I realized a lot of people don't know from my testing is that whenever you KO it, even if you don't KO anything, your opponent still has to choose 2 cards in their hand and place them in their drop area. So being able to gain 3 back to deck and your opponent still discarding 2 is still great, especially with the double strike body on board.
Mm-hmm. And then your final card.
Oh, Broly. A lot of people would be confused about it or might not agree. For a little bit, I was on the fence between this card, the Grade 8 Mass Saiyan, and the new Supreme Kai, which is all around just a good card, generic secret rare. But I found that whenever you see this card, it's typically like if you see this card after your turn 3, it's typically game over. A lot of the times, your opponents, especially if you're playing against a green deck, I know a lot of people, whenever you see the Demigra on board, they can be really, really trigger happy with their freezes. So if you have it in hand and you play one of your 5 successor targets and you hit that 7-drop and your opponent KOs it or gets removed by a skill, you basically choose all cards other than that card in your hand and place them in your drop area, and you play him this just beefy dual attack double striker. And whenever he attacks, if your life is at 1, your opponent chooses all the cards in their hand and places them in their drop area. And whenever you combine, taking the hits, using your Stoic Fist to control your life as well, the Demigras, which allow you to manipulate your life, there's just so many ways that you can get yourself down to that threshold to trigger that ability that there's a lot of times your opponent just can't do anything against it.
All right. So, now that all that has been said, I do have a couple of questions, okay? First question. You've already touched on it before, but what specific part of the 2 leaders in comparison had you choose the green over the yellow? Like, I see certain cards only work with the green, like Android 15, Vicious Vendetta, and of course, like, his Awakening ability and whatnot. But was there any particular straw that broke the camel's back for you?
Yeah, for me, it was whenever you look at the new leader, in hindsight, you think, wow, that's great. You had to drop the 1 android, but you're drawing 2. You're getting a draw 2 on it. The Awaken's nice. The backside, you look at it, it has a lot of abilities. It looks really tempting to the eye. But right now, if you look at the format, if you're not playing Mecha Frieza, if you're not playing Sin, playing yellow in the format is kind of underwhelming, I find. There's not really great support cards right now for it, especially whenever you'd have to splash the green for the mission acquireds and the core and all the other cards that you would need for it. I found that even at best, given that draw ability in the front, which some people would argue is better than just a draw 2 off your Awaken with 13, I found that with the rate that you're taking life and that your opponent's swinging at you, you're only going to get 1 or 2 draws out of that anyway. And you're pitching 1 card to draw 2 in addition, so really you're only going to accrue 2 cards advantage, which you're going to get out of this leader on your turn 1 potentially. So I just think this leader in general was just better to go with for me.
All right, sweet. The next question I actually have, because this deck, the more and more I look at it, the more solid, like, I see it getting. Like, I kind of wonder if Dormant could be a little higher just because of the current meta and how destructive Dormant is when it lands. There are just certain matchups where it's like, you see Dormant and you're going to live for 2 more turns, whereas you don't see Dormant and lots of decks can kind of just waltz on through. But what made you choose the Broly green secret rare over something like Celzino?
A lot of the times whenever it came to the deck, especially whenever it comes to Successor and the fact that you're going to be discarding a lot of your Android targets, most of the time, sometimes you'll play your Vicious Vendetta, but I'll be honest, in a lot of my matchups against Vegex, OG Broly, Mecha Frieza, Dark Broly, I found like I was just discarding the androids to make them just drop cards more so than anything. I found that, at most I was going to have 10, 11 energy cost on board, and I found that whenever I had the cell, it was great, but I felt like I was always pressured, like I had to hit it. Mm-hmm. With the Broly, not only is it just a cantrip if my opponent gets greedy and tries to kill my 7-drops, which can just be the endgame, like, boss cards on their own. Worst case scenario, you can always combo it, you can charge it, it's an on-color charge that doesn't have energy exhaust. In addition to that, using the Broly secret rare is just really good. The value that you accrue out of it in the discard, I think it's really on theme, on point with the leader, and it's just something that I would go with all day.
All right, that's tight. So the next question I have for you, what do you feel of this deck's like best matchups right now in the current format?
Oh, the current format, what I found, if we're just talking the format in general, if we're talking like the meta format, I find that I just walk through Mecha Frieza. Like, their extra cards can't interact with me activating Stoic Fist on them turn one and potentially hitting another one in my hand off the 5 cards I'm going to get back into my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just a game of attrition with them, and whenever you're just minusing cards off their hand, and you don't even need to attack, and if you do, most of the time it's going to be critical anyway. So they don't really accrue as much cards as they would like. And even with, Universe 9 Assemble, if you're just making them discard all the cards that they're getting, it doesn't really matter. We have board removal, we have hand discard. Another one that I found was really good is OG Broly. They just can't keep up. I found that, at worst, I can pop the new Battle Evolution cards before they become a problem, the new 1 and 4 drop, and, prevent that chain from going off. And, worst case scenario, they QC ability on Demonic Restraint turn 3, and they play a 6 drop, but still by turn 3, they should be at, 2 cards in hand, ideally. Another good one's Vegex. Most Vegex players that I've played on Untap, no offense to Vegex players, have just left the games. A lot of them now, ever since the erratas and the bans, a lot of people were speculating if it would survive. And, I'm seeing a lot of people play like Gogeta and Gohanks, and just a lot of them are just mixing. And I just found that even the most consistent Vegex decks that are reminiscent of the old ones with the Elite Descendant at 4, even though it can only be run at 1, I find like the decks that still run that kind of archetype still just, it finds it hard because they're relying on hitting those cards into their drop off of their burst ability. And whenever we're minusing cards out of their hand, they're not getting much to play, to get cards, to draw cards, to try to find answers. So if you're really just shutting that down, it's a lot like in Magic with Dredge. You can just shut it down if you have all the right cards. I think the last great matchup that I really have had fun with is a matchup that I've also struggled with almost every other deck, and it's Bergamo ever since the new Universe cards got released. Getting Bergamo locked is not fun on turn 4 or turn 3, depending on what unison they're using. But this deck, I find that with them, they're playing cards out of their hand with their leader ability on turn 1, even if they don't attack. So if they play first, they're going to charge, go down to 5 at the end of the turn, play a card that might let them draw 1. But at worst, they're going to be at 5. Best, they're going to be at 4. And then going into your turn, you're going to draw and be like, okay, Stoic Fist, go down to 3. And from there, you can play Vegeta, the Lone Prince, because they're mainly blue / yellow. So it doesn't really matter. Blue doesn't really have many answers besides God Sealing Technique. So you can just go all in with your Vegeta Lone Princes. You can go all in with your Mission Acquired, Seer Toas. You don't really have much worry there. So you can just have a war of attrition with them and beat them down.
Alright, I dig it. Alright. So, we just talked about your best matchups. Do you feel like there are any matchups where you just get a hole punched in you?
In best of 1, I feel like there's a couple. In best of 1, I feel surprisingly Reboot Gohan isn't a problem, but I feel like sometimes Dark Broly can be an issue. And I think that's a big thing with a lot of decks, because it's just an all-around great deck. It has everything you want. It has graveyard manipulation, board control, a way to control your hand, control your opponent's hand, especially with the new cards that got released, like the new Dark Broly Unbridled cards. It's just a really, really great. And now it's just getting into the realm of, your opponent has to warp things from all their zones or crit life. And, sometimes that can be really hard to go up against, but sometimes it's really great if you can make them, discard 3 cards on turn 1. So it really sometimes depends on who goes first and what cards you get in your opening hand, but that's a really tough matchup, I find. And I think the other hard matchup in this format that I would find is Oh, I'm trying to think. I think Gohan, the new Aegis Gohan, is hard.
Ah,
I've
okay.
playtested. It's a lot of people I've been playtesting have just been basically copying Joey Palladino's list.
Hmm.
Shout out to him for taking the tournament with that. But the Aegis effect is just on that Bojack having barrier. You know, if they get that out, they're just gonna have consistent card draw. It doesn't matter if I'm dropping them down. You know, just the draw off the leader, the draw off the Aegis, the draw off the card effects. You know, and if they're playing the Great Ape Son Goku, it's just like, okay, discard a card, and then you see them drop the Goku, and you're just like, okay, well, they're gonna get a +1 next turn. Great.
You're like,
So
well,
those, I think,
okay. Like, yeah, I get you.
yeah. So I think those are the two worst matchups for the deck.
All right, I can see that. I can see that. All right, so interesting. All right. Trying to think if I have any more questions, because I mean you were very thorough about pretty much like everything I asked, and like
Oh
the
yeah.
deck is like it's cool because the deck has a lot of pieces that are already known but haven't been really touched for a while. Some new pieces that really change it up, and then some pieces that we're currently still dealing with today. So all in all, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you've heard it here. It's not like this gentleman is just sitting here in the basement solitaire. Like, he's got a lot of experience under his belt, and he's feeling pretty confident about what this
Yeah,
deck can do.
yep. You know, after the Canadian Upper Hand Nationals placed in top 16, and I seen these cards released, I just have a feeling, you know, I think it was a New Jersey 1K a while back, or a regional of some kind, where Android 13 placed in either the top 16 or the top 8. And I think, you know, these cards are providing so much more synergy and so much more consistency to the deck and the leader and the archetype itself. So I would not be surprised, and I'm going to keep playtesting and refining. People can play with me on Untap at Caca Carrot Cake for the abridged fans out there. And but yeah, I'm going to keep refining testing, and a lot of people may see me bring this up in the new fight series for DBSL, and they might see me bring it up at regionals.
Hey, yeah, I'm more than excited to see it. Alrighty then. So, I think that about wraps it up. I wanted to thank you one more time for getting on the channel for this week's Rogue series. Really like the deck, and it's always cool to see new, different things. And the whole point about Rogue series is just getting people in from the community. Not everybody wants to make their own channel or something, but I'm pretty sure everybody likes putting their pride and joys up for display when they feel just really good about it. So I'm happy that you actually took me up on this offer and got on the channel and showed off your deck, dude.
Yeah, no worries at all. I anytime I have a lot of great ideas that I'm coming up with, a lot of wacky ideas, and if people ever just want to test, if people want to see what I got going on, they can always give me a shout out on the community page on Facebook. They can give me a shout out on the Discord groups, the UniXRogue DBS Discord group, community group. And I'm always here to play test, help others with their decks. And if anybody has questions about the deck, I'm always open to ask about that too.
Awesome. Well, as I said before, thank you guys for the support. If you want to do something like this, just hit me up. You guys generally know where to find me on Facebook, or join the Discord in the description. Let me know. We just gotta pretty much schedule a date with each other, and then we can slide right into videos like this. One more time, thank you, dude. I'll have you on the channel again whenever you want. Like, we're gonna keep it going. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time you decide to join Universe X. Later.